Hello friends, I present to you a short overview dedicated to the Home Assistant 2026.07 update, in which we will go through the main changes in the system and try to understand how to use them. In the previous video dedicated to the 2026.6 update, we looked at the experimental automation editor from Labs. At that time, it was a new feature that had to be enabled manually. In Home Assistant 2026.7, this approach leaves Labs and becomes the new default way to create automations. In the previous episode, we had already discussed a simple scenario with a bedroom, presence sensors, and light. Today we will take a slightly more complex example, controlling the operation of an air conditioner in a real system, where it is necessary to take into account the state of the windows, the balcony door, the room temperature, and the actual state of the air conditioner itself. To organize feedback, a Zigbee opening sensor is installed here. When the air conditioner is turned off, it is closed. When it is turned on, it is open. Now let us see what the automations will look like, taking into account the updated builder. Let us start with the startup automation. There are 3 triggers here. The first is the window sensors. In this case, there are 2 of them, but this is not of fundamental importance because I use all window sensors by location. If in the future the sensors change, are added, or removed, the list will update automatically. For the automation to start, all windows must be closed. The second trigger is the balcony door sensor. Here I already specify a particular sensor because, for example, interior door sensors do not participate in this automation. The balcony door must also be closed. The third trigger is the temperature sensor. I also set it explicitly because there may be several temperature sensors in the room and not all of them should participate in the automation. For the example, let us take a threshold of 27 degrees. When the temperature rises above this value, the automation also starts checking the conditions. Triggers only start the automation, while the decision to turn on is made in the conditions block. Some of the conditions here do indeed repeat the triggers, but they perform a different task. The first condition is that all windows must be closed. Right here it is visible that there are 2 windows in the room, and at the moment the condition is not met. Therefore, even if the automation starts, the command to turn on the air conditioner will not go any further. The next condition is that the balcony door must also be closed. Here I use a specific sensor, not the whole location, because sensors of other doors do not participate in this logic. This duplication is necessary because there are several triggers. Any of them may fire, but before turning on the air conditioner, Home Assistant must check all the other parameters. The third condition is that the temperature on the room sensor must be above 27 degrees. Here a green check mark is already visible, which means that this condition is currently met. And the last condition is that the sensor on the air conditioner flaps must show a closed state. This means that the air conditioner is currently turned off. If the flaps are already open, it means the air conditioner is working and there is no need to send the turn on command again. If all conditions are met, the final step remains to send the turn on command. For this, I use Broadlink IR, through which Home Assistant sends a pre-recorded infrared command. That is, there is no attempt here to guess the state of the air conditioner by some virtual flag. First, the system checks the windows, the balcony door, the temperature, and the position of the flaps, and only after that sends the real command to turn it on. When all conditions are met, the automation reaches the action. On this screen, it is visible that the windows are closed, the balcony door is closed, the temperature is above the set threshold, and the sensor on the flaps shows that the air conditioner is currently turned off. In this case, Home Assistant sends a pre-recorded infrared turn-on command through Broadlink. After the air conditioner is turned on, the flaps open, the magnet moves away from the sensor, and the last condition is no longer met. This means that Home Assistant already sees the air conditioner as operating. Therefore, even if the temperature remains high and the windows and door are closed, the repeated turn-on command will not be sent. The turn-off automation is built according to the same scheme, but in the opposite direction. The first trigger is opening a window. Here I again use all window sensors by location, but now the logic is different. It is enough for any one of them to open. According to the same principle, the balcony door is also added as a separate trigger. That is, if a window or the balcony door opens, Home Assistant starts checking the turn-off automation. Another trigger is the temperature on the room sensor. If it drops below the lower threshold, for example 24 degrees, the the automation also starts. The conditions here are much simpler. It is enough for us to check that the air conditioner is really operating, which means the flaps are open. If this condition is not met, there is no need to send the turn-off command. If a window opens, the balcony door opens, or the temperature drops below the lower threshold, and at the same time the sensor on the flaps confirms that the air conditioner is currently on, Home Assistant sends an infrared turn-off command through Broadlink. As a result, there are two mirror automations. One is responsible for turning on when all conditions are met, and the other for turning off when a window or door is opened or the temperature decreases. The next noticeable change in Home Assistant 2026.7 is activity. In essence, this is an updated version of the old event log. Now events are displayed not simply as a list of lines, but in the form of a more understandable timeline. You can see the time, the entity, the state change, and in a number of cases, the reason for the trigger. At the top, you can select a time range and also filter only the necessary devices, entities, or areas. That is, activity has become more convenient specifically as a tool for analyzing what was happening in the system and in what sequence. The next change concerns the Updates page. You can find it in the Home Assistant settings, in the System Updates section. If updates are available, an indicator appears next to the settings icon. So there is no need to check every section separately. Home Assistant immediately shows that updates are available in the system. In Home Assistant 2026.7, the Updates page has become clearer. Updates are now grouped by type. Home Assistant system components separately, HACS separately, and apps separately. In this example, you can see an update for Home Assistant operating system, several HACS updates, and Matter Server in the apps group. For individual groups, an Update All button has appeared, so several updates of the same type can be launched together instead of opening each one separately. At the same time, Home Assistant system components remain separate items. It is better to update them deliberately, especially if this is the main working system. Since in the example with the air conditioner we used an infrared command, it is logical to look at one more change in Home Assistant 2026.7. Separate sections for infrared and radio frequency have appeared in the settings. They are displayed next to other system sections such as Matter, Bluetooth, and Tags, and are intended for devices that work via infrared or radio frequency commands. If you open the infrared section, Home Assistant shows devices that can work with infrared commands. In my case, there is one device here, Broadlink. The change is small, but convenient. Such devices no longer need to be searched for among all integrations or in the general list of devices. A separate entry point appears for them in the settings. On the page of Broadlink itself, you can see that the device is associated with infrared control, as well as with the automations where it is used. In my case, the air conditioner control automation is present here. That is, the new infrared section complements the practical example from the first part of the overview well. We not only send an IR command from an automation, but we can also find the device itself faster, check its state, and the related scenarios. Another change concerns users of the built-in Zigbee integration ZHA. A separate managed Zigbee device item has now appeared on the Zigbee device page. If you use Zigbee 2 MQTT, this change does not concern you directly. But for ZHA users, this is more convenient. Technical management of a specific Zigbee device now opens directly from the device page. After switching, a separate Zigbee device management page opens. The first section is clusters. Here you can view the attributes of the selected cluster, read values, and, if necessary, send commands or write parameters. An ordinary user does not need this every day, but when debugging non-standard devices, such access can be very useful. The next tab is bindings. Here the device bindings are collected, both direct binding links with other Zigbee devices and group bindings. This is already a more technical section, but for ZHA it is important, especially if you need to check how the device is connected with groups or other participants in the network. On the Signature tab, you can view the raw Zigbee device signature. Here you can see the endpoint, profile, device type, input and output clusters, manufacturer, model, and device class. This kind of information is often used during diagnostics, when creating quirks, or when analyzing why a device was identified differently than expected. And the last tab shows neighboring Zigbee devices that the selected node reports. In my test example, no neighbors were found, But in a real network, this section can help to understand through which devices the route is built and how a particular node sees the Zigbee network. In general, this is not a change for all Home Assistant users, but specifically an improvement for those who use ZHA. But it makes Zigbee device diagnostics noticeably more convenient. Clusters, bindings, signature, and neighbors are now collected in one clear place. Another small but useful improvement concerns cards with timestamp entities. Now in the visual editor, you can choose the time display format directly from a drop-down list. Various display options are available for such entities. That is, you can show not only the exact date or time, but also, for example, a relative value. There is also a time format style setting next to it, which allows you to choose the display style. A small thing, but it is convenient for interface configuration, and now such things can be done without manual YAML editing. Another small change has appeared in Developer Tools on the States tab. Now the States table can be made a little more compact. At the top right, toggles for the device, area, and attributes columns have appeared. If one of these columns is not needed at the moment, it can be hidden and only the data you are really working with can be left. This release also introduced new integrations. We will not analyze each of them in detail, but the direction is interesting. There are integrations for backups in Dropbox, for infrared control, for local reading of meter values, solar inverters, and charging stations for electric vehicles. Before updating, as usual, it is worth looking into the section of changes that may affect old settings. It is also present in this release, and some of the changes may affect existing scenarios. Special attention should be paid to the new automation editor. There are also changes for Person, iCloud, Realink, Starline, and other integrations. Therefore, the standard recommendation remains the same. Before updating a working system, make a backup copy and check those automations where zones, presence, device batteries, and experimental automation blocks are used. The main change is that the new automation editor has left labs and become the main way to create scenarios. In a simple example, this is just more convenient. And in a more realistic automation with an air conditioner, windows, temperature, and physical feedback, it is clearly visible that the logic has become much more visual. They also updated activity instead of the old logbook, improved the updates page, added separate sections for IR and RF devices, redesigned Zigbee device management in ZHA, and added new time display settings in cards. YAML and old automations are not disappearing anywhere, but the direction is clearly visible. Home Assistant is gradually moving from the technical logic of what state an entity has to the more understandable logic of what happened in the house and what the system should do. That concludes the main changes of the July Home Assistant update. I hope the video was useful and interesting to you. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your attention. See you again. Peace to everyone.